The global city. 2.6. The focus on static totals versus dynamism tends to reward large developed world cities, rapidly growing or emerging market cities. The Kearney survey has a separate emerging cities list. In a sense, these rankings are biased in favor of impotent legacy cities. 2.7. It's also interesting to see what was included versus not included in quality of life type ratings. For example, items like censorship, media access, the rule of law, and the environment are listed, but measures of upward social economic mobility or income inequality or not. 2.8. Lastly, a number of the rankings suggest a self-consciously elite mindset, such as shopping and dining options. As with many quality of life survey, these seem to orient them towards expatriate executive types rather than normal folks. 2.8. Looking at these, I can't help but think that the criteria were the product of an iterative process where the result were refined over time. Thus, in a sense, the outcomes were likely somewhat predetermined. That's not to say that the game was rigged necessarily, but I suspect if anyone were doing a global city survey and London and New York did not rank at the top, the developers would question whether they got the criteria right. In a sense, a global city is like obscenity. We know one when we see it, but we don't necessarily have a widely agreed upon. 2.10. I sense that these rankings attempt to look at global cities in 4 basic ways. A. Advanced Producer Services Production Node. This is basically Sassen's original definition. I think this one remained particularly important because the skills are spatialized and subject to clustering economics. The cities that concentrate in these function have a buffet-like wide moat. Sustainable competitive advantage, in particular very high value activities. 4 cities with large concentration of those cities can generate significantly above average economic outputs and incomes per worker. B. Economic giants, namely. This is a fairly simple but important view of that simply measures how big cities are on some metrics like GDP. C. International gateway. Measures of the importance of a city in international flows of people and goods. Examples would be the airport and cargo gateways figures. D. Political and cultural hub. An important distinction should perhaps be made here between hubs that may be large but of primarily national or regional importance, and those of truly international significance. For example, there are many media hubs around the world, but few of them are home. 2.11. There may potentially be other ways to slice it as well. The fact that these are various ways of viewing cities can often overlap can confuse things, I think. For example, New York and London score highly on all of these, and there are usually underlying reasons why they do, yet trying to sum it all up into one overall ranking or score, while making it easy to get press, can end up obscuring important nuance.